This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
Between the kids being home and hosting, everything in our house gets used up in summer. With Instacart, I can save money by stocking up on all my favorite summer brands. I save time by getting everything delivered in as fast as an hour. And I save myself a sink full of dirty dishes by stocking up on paper plates for the annual summer cookout. Save more on summer essentials? Spend more time enjoying summer. Add summer to cart. Download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Additional terms apply.
Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Ian Frazier about how to help distributed teams connect virtually in an effective and meaningful way. Ian Frazier, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you joining me today. We're going to have a fun conversation focusing on workplace culture and employee engagement generally, but zooming in more specifically to look at distributed workforce, virtual teams, and how we can better connect people more effectively and in meaningful ways, creating healthy work environments when people aren't actually together when they're working virtually. As we get started, I wanted to share Ian's bio with everybody. Ian Frazier is the co-founder and chief executive officer of the Go Game, the leader in team building and culture-driven games. Ian and chief technology officer Finn Kelly co-founded the Go Game in 2000 to bring fun to work through interactive games, events, and experiences that make employees feel connected and engaged. In 2020, the Go Game launched Go Remote, which creates dynamic digital environments that enable real engagement that goes beyond the market standard video conferencing tool. As a CEO, Ian is responsible for the Go Game's overreaching business strategy and day-to-day profitability. He is also responsible for setting the general tone of the products and is deeply involved in the creative output. Ian also oversees the partnership and sales teams as they introduce Go Remote to the marketplace, securing clients such as Google, LinkedIn, Spotify, and Amazon. Whether coaching girls softball, shepherding 15-year-olds soccer players across West Africa, leading juvenile felons across the swamps of Florida, or empowering his own employees, Ian's approach is the same. Embrace the uncertainty, lean into challenges, and wisely use one of the best tools we have to be successful, and that's play. Ian earned his BS in political science and environmental studies from the University of Colorado Boulder. He lives in Berkeley with his wife and 3 daughters. It is wonderful to have you. What a great background. Anything else you would like to add by way of background before we launch on into the conversation?
Sure. Thanks, John. That's nice of you to read. I would say we rebranded Go Remote, the virtual offering, recently to Weave, W-E-V-E. So that's kind of a new development. It's kind of a fun play on the word like we have, also, weave together. So that's a recent development. So that's the only thing I'd add.
Okay, excellent. So as we get started with this conversation, perhaps we can lay the groundwork, a little bit more generally, and talk about improving workplace culture and employee engagement. Now, that's the name of the game. That's literally what you are trying to do with your offerings in your company. So not only are you trying to help other organizations do this, but of course, you're trying to do this within your own organization, with your own people. So tell us a little bit about your approach, kind of your philosophy of, healthy workplace culture and employee engagement, both in terms of how it manifests in the products you offer, as well as internally within your team.
Yeah, we're like sort of patient number one or zero, whatever it's called, because we have really been conducting the culture experiment on ourselves first, because we went from an in-person in-office company to fully remote at the beginning of the pandemic, and there are a ton of challenges that we faced. So as we built a tool for companies to connect with, in this new remote environment, we were the testers. So I'd say like the first thing is that like it has to pass our smell test for being like truly fun. I think one of the things we say, it's like, if this is something you do with your friends, like in your free time, it's probably a good product. And if it feels like that horrible sort of like punchline of team building, like the Flight of the Conchords song, the team building 99 or whatever, it's like, it can be pretty forced and pretty weird. So we sort of start with like, is this something we think is really awesome and fun? So I'd say that's kind of the first, before we even make the recipe, that's sort of our overarching goal.
Yeah, well, and I think fun and play has a huge place within business and within organizational cultures and team dynamics. And it's something, that I think we undervalue a lot of times. We think perhaps that it's not professional. We need to look more buttoned up and professional. And when we're talking about fun and play at work, it's not even necessarily like the Googles that have the foosball and the ping pong and whatever. Like maybe you have some of that, but we're talking about just making work, the environment, an engaging, fun, active environment where people get to try new things and experiment and learn and grow on a continual basis. And there's a lot of elements to, you can gamify workplace environments without just like having people go play ping pong for an hour, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what one of this new product we've been working so hard on. It's sort of the first iteration of it is this virtual game show. It's like a video conference, basically a gamified video conference where you can put 6 or 2,000 people in there. And we've got a couple other iterations of it, but at its core, it's a video conferencing tool, but it's got sort of game show, gamified elements, which has been a great first case, and be like, does this work? Is this really engaging? And it really, really is. And our sort of follow-up products are going to be, just some more basic video conferencing meeting platforms where we do take some of that fun and sprinkle it in, because I think no one's like, great, we've got it. Like a Zoom meeting is the pinnacle of virtual engagement for humans. I think it's a really good first start, but I think that in ways these things were designed. They're functionally great, but it's almost like the aesthetic is like the cover of a CD-ROM of an old meeting software with like a glass table and people with a laser pointer and like office casual. We're like, no one likes those meetings. Like, why did we make the paradigm?
That's a good point.
That's sort of the North Star. The best meetings are the ones that are like at a picnic table, impromptu, or around a campfire or at the bar after work. So I think that there's a huge opportunity to bring in some really playful, fun elements, even just to like video conference. Like if you have a meeting and it's your sales team and you've got a 40-minute meeting, it's like, do you want to do 3 minutes of trivia first, or do like some funny fact match? So that's what we're really hopeful that there's a big ceiling and we're not close to it yet. So that we hope to fill that in with some of our fun.
Yeah, that's great. So you've already kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's look a little bit more closely at these virtual meetings. So I really liked your take on it. It is funny that, it's sad, funny, whatever word you want to use, that we seem to have modeled these tools like Teams, Zoom, whatever, after the traditional lame meetings that nobody likes. Right. These boring meetings that tend to be very quite ineffective, and yet that's been the model. So how do we shake that up? You just described a couple of things that you do, but how do leaders make those virtual staff meetings more effective, more engaging, get people kind of hooked early on so you can engage with their energy?
Yeah, I think that there's some technological things like where you can kind of play around with the groups and the muting states. I think the paradigm now, it's like one talking stick, and like the loud, annoying person hogs it basically because they just keep talking, so you miss a lot of those dynamics. So we've built a bunch of different modes that are, one's called social mode, huddle mode, meeting mode, play mode. So I think there's some technological things you can do to make it feel a little more sort of natural. And then yeah, as you alluded to, like a lot of the like tricks we use are like games, like trivia, Pictionary, all the way to like, you know, if it's like a crazy meeting and people are having beers, it's like we have like karaoke, all these things that you could just at the click of a button start. So I think that's like people are naturally like, you know, they want to play, they're competitive or whatever. And I don't think you need to make your meeting, you know, like Chuck E. Cheese for 60 minutes, but I think that like there is a way to get people in the flow. And I think you kind of go in immediately with like camera off and your email open on another thing, and you're looking at your phone, and you know, and you're there, but you're not really there. So I think, you know, that's the hook. So in a meeting, if you can just put in, you know, it's like, oh, I'm meeting with my European sales team. It's like, oh, I'll grab the Champions League trivia and we'll do a funny trust building thing, and it'll take 4 minutes, and then you go into your meeting, or you wrap up with it, or you take a break in the middle. But I think that yeah, those meetings can be a slog, you know, for that long, and so that's what we do is try to just sprinkle the fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I was thinking, so back this last December, we did a virtual kind of holiday party with my team. And one of the things we tried to do very ineffectively was karaoke over Zoom.
Yeah, I know, it's a good idea.
Yeah, so we tried, and it was a mess, and we still had some fun. But man, that you know would have been a hit, I think, with my group. Yeah, one of the other things that we do, I should say, and probably 95% of our events are that you have a live host that is from our company, and we have about 60 hosts who are the most engaging, hysterically funny, fun people who love kind of making magic happen between people in groups, sort of like. So you don't have to have like boring me be the MC for the event, you can right? Or me, or boring me. You know, it's like we just have met some really fun people even since the pandemic started who were just they were facilitators or coaches or bartenders, a whole host of people, and they wanted to come and participate on this platform. So that's also one of our like our secret sauces is that like it is kind of hard when it's all on you, and it's like, okay, I got to get people to come to my meeting, so I'm going to make this karaoke thing, and even if it's not the work of making the karaoke, just that it's on you, it makes it hard. So there's I think a big advantage to using our platform, and it's right now, like I said, it comes with most events, is that there's just a person, a real live person who is there, who's can facilitate, run the karaoke, run the trivia, say the funny things, and that's pretty neat. So it's even though some people do think that those people are like AI because they get in there and there's this like person and they're like, are you real? And one of our hosts is named Al, and the way their name appears, it looks like AI a little bit, like the A and the L, and everyone is like, are you AI? And then Al acts like a robot for a minute, and then they reveal that no, they're really a real person. I'm excited to announce the publication of my new book from HCI Press, Bluer Than Indigo Leadership: The Journey of Becoming a Truly Remarkable Leader. Early in my adult life, I learned about an Asian proverb that translates as bluer than indigo. If you think about the color indigo, it is a brilliant, deep, and vibrant blue, what some would call the bluest of blues. To have something that is bluer than indigo is rare and truly remarkable. Contrary to popular myth,
There is no one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach to effective leadership. There's no silver bullet, no secret sauce, no go-to model that will solve all of our problems. The truth is, great leaders have all had their unique strengths and flaws, and have all had to discover and then pave their own distinctive path in their life's journey to fulfill their leadership potential. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership will help you discover your own path and explore those ordinary, everyday actions that will help you respond to an uncertain future and produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations.
That's really fun. And I think the key here is just, for people to kind of open their minds a little bit to the possibilities, right? And to your point, for a meeting, like there are still things you have to get done. You're still trying to get through, agenda items. And, if it's a working meeting, you have to talk through things, and you have to, strategy meetings, you have to work through things, whatever. Like there are things you have to accomplish in meetings. You can't just play all the time. But if you build in, an opening 3 to 5 minutes just to energize people, grab their attention, get them engaged, kind of prime the pump, of their thinking to lead to better outcomes for the meeting, that's going to benefit everybody. And you're absolutely right. Like so many of the meetings that I jump on, I find myself, I do this calculus in my head. I'm like, okay, do I really need to be there? Probably not, but they invited me and they expect me to be there. So I'm going to log in. I'm going to at the very beginning, I'm going to have my camera on, say hi, and then I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to turn my camera off. And then I'm going to have my email going while I listen. And then every now and then I might unmute myself to say something. And I think that's what the vast majority of people do. And so, there's definitely a better way if we just think creatively.
Yeah, I think one of the things too, we've thought about recently and we've experienced as a company is, is maybe dialing back the video calls a bit. I think that we've overdone it a little bit, where everything is a video meeting, and it's tiring. So, and I think it's understandable that people, including me, are like, turn my camera off. I can't sit there and look at my weird self anymore. Or and you can be just as effective on a phone call, like on a conference call or something like that. And so I think there's something we're going to learn. We're kind of learning it now, and in the future we'll hopefully be better at it. And that's to use the video calls sort of sparingly when you really want people engaged in that kind of immediate way. And there are other meetings that don't need to happen like that, because I think you're right. I'm on those meetings too, where you're like, oof, it's sort of like stealing your soul a little bit. So we want to, introduce the idea that if you've got a video meeting, make it count. And by that, it doesn't mean just like, okay, here's the link, everybody get on and put your headphones on. But, kind of honor people's time to be like, hey, this is going to be really, really cool. And maybe a little bit different. I don't know if you're probably too young to remember, but when PowerPoint, the transitions came, or the animations, remember how amazing
went
that
a
was?
Little crazy. Yeah.
People would be like, oh my God, you got to go to John's meeting. It's like, how did you do that? It's like, here's Q4. And then the bars go up, and then the pie chart changes, and, everyone's cheering, like they're watching Star Wars or something. So I think that there's potential to make these meetings count a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking about meetings a little bit, but let's zoom out. When we're looking at virtual teams, we have distributed teams from all over the place. It's one of the benefits, I think, of this pandemic is just it's kind of opened up people's willingness and awareness of the opportunity to just have people working from wherever. So then you can tap into talent pools from all over the place. Now, certainly there were organizations that were doing this pre-pandemic, but so many people were very hesitant and not as inclined to adapt to that kind of a model. But now after 18 months and so many organizations having gone remote or hybrid in some way, they realize, we can totally have people from all over the place. But of course, there are challenges there when you have a team that's not together physically to put in place, to really establish and maintain a positive, healthy workplace culture, and to engage your employees and to bring everyone together and have those synergies and do that remotely, that's a challenge, right? It's hard enough to do that when you're all together in the same place physically. It's perhaps even harder when you're just looking at each other through the screen. So how do we do that? How do we approach that as leaders as we're trying to, tap into the benefits of distributed workforce and access to more skilled, talented labor, but also, reinforce the type of company culture we want and to really get the most out of our people to drive success for the organization?
I mean, that's the billion-dollar question, and I think that it's kind of a mix of some of the stuff we already know, which is be a good manager, and still make time for your one-on-ones, even though, because you're kind of always talking anyway, and you're always on calls, and you're like, well, we're sort of having our one-on-one here anyway, but really making the time, that, because you can't go, hey, like, let's go get a cup of coffee and check in about your goals. It's all in the same medium. So that's kind of, I found that to be hard, sort of tricky. And then the other thing is to make the time, celebrate the moments, and whether it's someone's work anniversary or all the fun things you did in the office. And I think because you're all like together so much, technologically, but you're not really together sort of like emotionally or spiritually, or in that way that is like, ooh, we're in the break room and like John's wife made a cake, so those are the moments we think that are really important to celebrate. And it's funny, a lot of people will say, well, they reach out to us like, what do you have for, like, do you have a game for, like, an event for Flag Day or something? People are like trying to invent all these reasons to celebrate with each other. We're like, you know what I mean? We're like, did we ever really even do anything for Halloween? But now it's like, we got to have a Halloween thing because people, we really want to do that. And that's hard. So it's funny, we have a bunch of different events and games that are themed around sort of off-brand holidays that now all of a sudden people are celebrating, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, great ideas. And you raise an important point. Like, a lot of this is just like effective people management, effective leadership, whether we're talking in the physical workspace, if we're talking virtual, if we're talking hybrid. Like, we just have to be able to be effective managers, and some of those same factors are certainly applicable. Like, we still have to develop relationships of mutual accountability and trust with our people. We have to have genuine, authentic relationships. Is that harder to do when you're not in the same spaces as your people? Probably. You probably have to be a little bit more deliberate about creating those opportunities.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's still very possible. You can totally do it. So we have to remember, we don't get a pass just because it's a little bit more challenging to do that. We have to check in with people. We have to, establish clear expectations. We have to have performance discussions. We just have to do the fundamentals and continue to do them consistently over time. And if we do that, whether we're together in person, we're, a distributed workforce virtually, or we're doing some sort of hybrid arrangement, those same fundamental principles are still going to apply.
Totally. Yeah. And getting together once in a while is fun too. So we're actually, this weekend, we have our in-person company retreat in Seattle. And so we're all going to meet. Half of us have never met before. So we're all going to get together and be together in person for a weekend, which is going to be bizarre and awesome and fun. Because we've established these relationships with folks just all totally two-dimensionally. So I think there's still, a place for that. And I think folks will see that they probably have really, if you're not paying for an office, you've got budget to be, to go make some cool in-person things happen. The same sort of principle, like, we'll make it count. So it's like, we're going to really try to give everyone, I don't know, not a peak experience, but something really memorable and really fun. And we'll see how, if we can kind of, fill the container with the in-person stuff by spending 3 really special days together. But because I think there's it's important context to sort of see people once in a while. So I think we got to do both.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really great point. There one of the huge benefits of distributed workforce and virtual teams is just lower overhead costs, right? There's just lots of efficiencies that come with that. And so let's reallocate some of those savings towards, people management, relationship development, and having some really good on-site opportunities or off-site, gatherings where we go to a location and just have fun together. We can still do some work, but have some fun together too. We certainly did plenty of that before, So, sometimes people are like, gosh, is that a waste? Should we really, spend money on, this kind of excursion? Like, we used to do those things all the time.
Totally. That was our old business. We used to run in-person team building events for 20 years. We're like, we built a whole business around it. So that's funny. Yeah. On our trip, we're totally going to do some fun stuff like that. And I think it'll be hugely appreciated in this, world of video conference meeting, marathon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ian, it has just been a real pleasure talking with you. I know the time has flown by, and I want to be respectful and let you get, on to the rest of your day. But before we close today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about Go Game, find out about your team, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Yeah, sure. You can reach out to us at weave.co, WEVE.co, and our other website is thegogame.com. That's our in-person event business. The final word is, when you're on Google Meets and there's a little in the bottom right corner, there's a tab for activities. It's the very fun little triangle, square, and circle. And you click on it and it pops up and there's one thing. It says whiteboard. It's a lot of space. So actually it should say activity because there's only one. There's not activities, but there's all this empty space there under where it says activity. And I think that is a pretty good metaphor for this, where you're like, that thing's going to be filled with other stuff. And we hope to be kind of the content creators for what will be in there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ian. It has been a pleasure. I encourage listeners to reach out, get connected, find out more about what he can do for you and what his team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership. Ordinary, everyday actions that produce extraordinary results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The alchemy of truly remarkable leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Check out Human Capital Innovations magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine with the mission to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We publish issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Take a look at the latest issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital. exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us.